Hi guys, welcome back to my show, My Steps to Sobriety, with me, your host, Stefan Neff. And today is another fantastic day to have an interview. I'm privileged and honored to have Kate Kunkel here with me. And Kate is in South America and has developed a specialty that is so needed out there, because she is a dementia prevention specialist. And in her role of that, she is with me tonight. And I'm so pleased that we can talk a bit about the impact of alcohol on brain, about dementia, and about what we all can do to make this life better. And in this case, equals to push the waiting time bomb of dementia a little bit further out, what we can do to make our lives a bit more dementia-proof, however little chance we have if we just live long enough. Unfortunately, a degree of that will set in, but there are a lot of things we can do. So, Kate, I'm so pleased that you're on my show. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I'm delighted to be here.
Mm.
And I want to address what you said that about pushing back the time of developing dementia. Many people believe, and certainly the common wisdom is, that it's sort of inevitable. And statistically, by the time we are 85, we have a 50% chance of developing it, the way things sit now. What hasn't been addressed in many instances is the fact that we can, by about 60%, reduce the chances of developing dementia with lifestyle changes. It's a huge, huge thing. In fact, some researchers are saying it could be up to 80% by taking these lifestyle changes. And like you said, reducing consumption of alcohol is a huge part of that.
So true, so true. Oh, that's very good figures there. I had an inkling that this is the fact, but I didn't know the exact figures. And that's so beautiful to have you on the show. I cannot imagine that a little while ago, a few months ago, when you were about 10, when you went to your mummy and said, "Look, mummy, I figured it out. I want to become a dementia prevention warrior. I will go out there and make the life of people better." Yeah. Somehow it's probably unlikely that occurred. So
yeah, that didn't happen.
when you were younger, what did you get up to? What was your profession?
When I was a girl, I wanted to be a nurse. That was my thing. My grandfather died of cancer when I was just 10, and I really wanted to be a nurse. Things just didn't turn out that way. I ended up going into the legal field, and then I became a writer. I've had many, many different hats in my life, but all of them have been geared toward healing, the healing arts. The first article I ever wrote for Let's Live magazine, which was a magazine in Canada back in the day, 1984 this would have been. I wrote an article about the dangers of hormone pills, of estrogen birth control pills for women. So I've always been in that direction, but it's taken many different forms. So whether it's been, I was in the personal injury field when I was in the law business. And then I was, when I was writing about alternative health. My television show dealt with that a lot. My work as a harpist, while I was also an entertainer, I also did healing work with the harp. So I guess it's always been that way. And I just sort of morphed into this 10 years ago when my mom was diagnosed with dementia. And then I took that research hat and put it firmly on and figured, I have to figure out why this is happening and how I can fix it. Of course, I want to fix everything. That's my thing. I got to fix things. Well, unfortunately for my mom, because she also had cancer for the 5th time, it was too complicated and it was too late. We found out too late. We figured it out too late. So I couldn't fix her, but I sure became determined to make sure it never happened to me or my sister or anybody I loved. And then it started expanding. There's so much pain and suffering there because of this. And that part of me just says, you got to do what you got to do to try and help people.
Wow. Wow. And it just shows that this is how life plays out. We just can't predict. I always thought I'm going to be X. So I knew I was a doctor, and then I defined myself as a pain specialist, and that was my firm belief. And it was completely concreted, and it never will change, etc., etc. And then life intervened. And at one stage, I had to retire from that field because it was eating me up for many reasons. It destroyed me. So suddenly things changed. And it was only at that time that I had to realize, actually, you don't have to be that one person. It's beautiful if that person fulfills you and allows you to have a most fantastic life. Great. If the situation changes and life demands different dues, if life asks you to be different, then the best thing you can assess, adapt, overcome, change. And obviously you have done that multiple times and have, however, kept your moral compass and your compass of the health warrior always in sight. So, wow, kudos to you.
Thanks. It doesn't, I honestly have to say, it doesn't always feel like I kept my compass. Wasn't always, because, you get sidetracked and things happen. And in my case, I veered into the entertainment field, and that was like a 10-year sojourn off my track. However, it did help me learn things.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me skills that I needed now. It gave me skills that I needed when I was doing my healing work. So it all worked out, but sometimes you feel like you're lost. As long as, you just do, but that's okay. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You would have worked in scenarios and situations where it is hard to do the prevention work that you want to do. So going back, for example, into your history, the 10 years in entertainment, that notoriously is a very wet environment. Mm-hmm. That is a stressful environment, and stress to a degree where it can become distress. So how did that go? What was your experience there?
I honestly have to say I felt a little bit, I hate to use the word soulless, but I worked in the legal side of the entertainment industry for 4 years, and then I moved into the post-production field. And in the legal field, the legal field is bad enough anyway. I'm being honest, I was in it a long time. It's bad enough. But when you add that much money into the mix, and you add power into the mix, it's very uncomfortable. And that's one of the reasons I actually took the choice to go into post-production, because then I wasn't in that so much. Yeah. I built my own little post-production company, but it was all about the money. It was all about the image. And I'm just not like that. I really am not like that. And it was really hard for me. And even when I went to Las Vegas and I worked as a harpist, there it's, we used to say we were a little ray of light in a neon darkness, because it's like that too. So yeah, all that time in the entertainment, especially the movie industry, movie and television is very difficult, as you probably know. And that can lead you to make bad choices, whether it's eating or drinking or how much sleep you get. All of those things get messed up when you're in that kind of an environment. And unless you're really, really famous and rich and you can decide who's going to be around you, and how you're going to deal with those people. To make it, you kind of have to deal with stuff that might suck your soul. And so that can cause all kinds of things. We saw lots of cocaine addiction, lots of alcoholism, lots of all kinds of, issues, divorces every time you turned around. And it was just difficult. But the fact that I was able to maintain, I stayed married for 25 years, and I was able to go through all of those businesses and maintain that. So it just took some determination and soul searching.
And that's so important, isn't it? Because getting sidetracked is so easy. And unless you start to live with intention, unless you put emphasis on the present, it is so difficult to keep your head straight. Because if you're constantly in the future and you worry and the worry then leads to self-medication with alcohol or whatever else, that's not great. And we all have fucked up. We all have stuffed up our past. Come on, we all have got moments that make us cringe. Or if you live too much in them, then that doesn't get you anywhere. So unless you start really living right now and enjoying that second for what it is, however beautiful or challenging or whatever it is, that is where I think the future lies, so to speak.
And when I'm so happy our conversation is going this direction. You've brought it around so beautifully, because being mindful, being present, that's a huge deal for your brain health. It's a huge deal for recovery. It's a huge deal for many things. To be in that moment and to be mindfully aware and to stop with the judgment. We don't need to judge ourselves. We don't need to judge others. We don't need to judge the situation. We can just be in that moment. Honestly, just before we started this, I was writing the chapter about mindfulness for the book, because I think it's such an important part of brain health. It's important for our spirit, but our brain it doesn't stop here, right? The spirit and the brain and the mind and the body are all connected. So that mindfulness is so incredibly important, to stay in the moment, to take joy. My grandmother always used to say, my Oma, she said, take joy, Katie, take joy, take joy. And no matter what happened, and she had a heck of a life, no matter what happened, it was about the joy.
Beautiful. And it's quite interesting, because you would have, you alluded to it already, a German grandmother who would have had a very challenging history through World War I, World War II, and then leaving Europe to come to South America. There are some stories hidden there, and as a different hat, as a historical researcher and novel writer, I want to talk to you. Let me leave that for another interview.
Okay, you got it.
Now, when you look at the work that you're doing with people, obviously your mum was the catalyst. She was the case that was so close to you, that pushed you so much into a place out there, so far out of your comfort zone, that you just simply had to act, that you had to move forward and put your vision onto dementia.
Yeah.
Of all the people that you're sort of working with now, you would have had quite a bit of an insight. If you were to ballpark it for our audience, what are sort of the reasons that you see that you can nail down for people not being as strong in their brain as they could be?
Sure. So the biggest thing is diet. The standard American diet is what's killing people, and that unfortunately has spread around the world. I just had a discussion with someone in Hong Kong about how obesity has just blossomed there, thanks in large part to the importation of the standard American diet. And we also have it here in South America. Before 20 years ago, and the advent of Coca-Cola, diabetes was basically unheard of here. We are number 144 in the world here in Ecuador for dementia, but now that diabetes and obesity is on the rise, I imagine we will be climbing up those figures. Inflammation is a big reason for developing dementia of all kinds, including Alzheimer's. And inflammation comes from our diet generally. It also comes from toxins. But the main feeder of it is our diet, and it affects our gut and the gut-brain axis. And so we have leaky gut, we have leaky brain. I would say if I were going to put one thing on, it would be that, but also a sedentary lifestyle. If you are not getting your heart pumping, if you are not moving, then that is a huge problem, and it can most definitely lead to. But the good news is, if you correct your diet and you get off your butt and get away from the couch and start moving, then you have a good chance of reversing some of the damage. And even if you have type 2 diabetes and you get that under control by cutting out the dairy, by cutting out the processed everything, we should all not eat anything processed, by the way, but by cutting all that stuff out, you can actually help reverse some of the effects and like you said, push back that timeline as far as you possibly can. If you've already got the damage, it may be hard to undo the damage, but you can also stop it from getting worse. And that's the good news.
And that's a fantastic news for many people out there, especially when you talk about prevention. Regrettably, sometimes life has got other ideas, and there will be people out there who suffer from dementia due to a number of other reasons. So there could be problems with the blood supply. So if you have got multiple mini strokes due to reasons whatsoever, that will knock your brain sideways, and you might turn up with signs and symptoms of dementia. And that can be certainly something, because you have destroyed the brain, that might not be as reversible as the impact of a bad diet.
I'm gonna stop you there,
Yeah.
because actually you can help reverse some of those things, because neuroplasticity is a real thing.
Absolutely.
Thank God.
Absolutely.
It is a real thing.
Absolutely.
So even like my dad had a series of strokes. So we're working with him now. He's using MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides in the form of coconut oil. He's doing lots of brain exercises. He's practicing meditation. My German father, whoever would have thought, but he's so determined to get his driver's license back that he'll do anything. So you may not be able to fix the damage, but you can help your brain figure out another way around things. It's not just the cells, it's not just the neurons, it's how they interact with each other. So and even if you're right-handed and you always brush your teeth with the right hand, try brushing your teeth with the left hand. That creates a whole new set of things, like things are firing a whole different way. So you do stuff like that, activate the vagus nerve. I mean, there are so many things you can do. It will not necessarily repair that damage, but you can make it go in a different direction. You can make the signals have a workaround. Just like people can rewire things that are we do that a lot here in Ecuador. finding workarounds for something. But our brains can do that amazingly, because you see even people who've always been right-handed, they lose their right hand, you learn to use your left hand. We can do that. The human brain is freaking amazing.
You are absolutely right. You're so right. I love to see your passion there. I just wanted to throw in a little bit of medical information and say, hey, whilst you're certainly 100% right with the lifestyle changes, and that's where we will lead to in a bit later in the interview. But I think there are many other things that are out there that can actually cause the initial
Oh,
insult.
yes.
Take traumatic brain injury, take
Mm,
things like that. So whilst that is not strictly dementia, it is a severe brain damage, and you're
oh,
talking
yeah, it's
about,
different.
yeah, that's right. But at the same token, the neuroplasticity is out there. I've had the pleasure of talking to Natalie Forstbauer in a previous interview, and she was a very driven life coach. And then in 2003, she had a traumatic brain injury that completely, pretty much destroyed her world as it was then. Fast forward 17 years, well, actually 15 years, she became a TEDx speaker. She became a most beautiful life coach in a very different direction. And the neuroplasticity that she demonstrated, which proved all the doctors wrong, that is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I subtitled her talk, "Why It Is Good When Doctors Are Wrong." And so, and I think you have the same subtitle. It is, for us doctors, it's pretty clear. If we cut the liver and destroy the liver, well, actually the liver can regenerate very
Mm-hmm.
nicely. Beautiful. Yeah, so that's the reason you do liver transplants, because you take some of the liver and it just goes back to a certain degree. And as doctors, I was taught the brain, once it's damaged, that's it, boom. That was the 80s, not so long ago when I studied medicine. And then the field of pain medicine, there we saw very much the impact of neuroplasticity in a good way and in a bad way, because you can teach the spinal cord and the pain pathways a lot of new tricks if you know what to do. Or vice versa, you can teach them bad tricks just as much as a doggy can be led astray. And now, talking to you and listening to people like Natalie, it becomes blatantly obvious that what I was taught in the 80s is a heap of BS, because people do improve tremendously against all odds, and you just need the right helping hand, the right
Yes.
guidance. And that's where you
Yeah.
come in, Kate. That's
Yeah.
where you live it, where you breathe it. It is the prevention is the key thing. Now you were giving me all the good sound bites, the gut brain axis. You're quite right, but some of my viewers will not know what the hell are you
Oh,
talking about. Uh,
yeah.
so
Okay.
give us a short snippet if you may.
Sure. So, I mean, if we think of our system, the brain up here, the belly down here, we have this line, this, well, a nerve basically that connects top to bottom. And we also have the digestive tract that sends things back and forth, that sends things up and out. Whatever we put in the gut somehow affects this. The gut microbiome is essential for our good health, and that can be affected by so many things. I'm sure most people have heard about the microbiome by now in one way or another. It's become kind of a popular thing to talk about with probiotics and that sort of thing. But it's very true. We are mostly, our DNA, we only have, I think it's 1/10 of our DNA is ours. The other 90% is from the microbiome. So all those little critters in there have a lot to say about how we are. And so we have to look after them just as much as we look after everything else about us. And that comes, and if we look after them, then they're nice to us. They don't mess with our gut lining, and they send the proper information to our brain. However, if we don't treat them good, they don't treat us good. And so then they send improper stuff to us, to our brain, because I know that, and you can probably answer this better, Stefan, but I understand that the belief in the past was that there was no way to get past the blood-brain barrier. But now they're discovering that some of this irritation, some of this inflammation particularly, can cause an opening. So not only do we have a leaky gut, all that crap, literally, that leaves the gut can actually travel through and get into the brain. So we've got this opening now that we didn't even really know it could happen before, and now that's happening. So if you think about, I like to describe it to my clients as, just think of something getting in and irritating your shoe. Like it's in your shoe, you can't get your shoe off, you've got this crap in your shoe and you can't get it off, and it causes blisters, or it causes, rubbing on your feet, and it's irritation, and you scratch and then it opens up and you get infection. Same thing in our brain. It's the same. To me, that's how I try to describe it for people who have trouble understanding it. We're opening up things, spaces, so the bad stuff can get in the brain, and that's what causes. And actually, the Alzheimer's is one form of dementia. Many people don't understand that it's only one form. It's the most common form, but we have many other forms of dementia. And like you said about brain injury, from vascular dementia, we have it from Lewy bodies. There are many other kinds, but in specifically the proteins, the plaques and tangles that everybody knows as Alzheimer's, they are a reaction, our brain's defense mechanism. It's our immune system kicking in. So it's not the plaques and the tangles that are they cause problems, but they're not the initial problem. They're the reaction to our input. So if people understand that what we put in is what happens in here, everything, whether it's alcohol, whether it's sugar is just as bad, whatever it is that you put in there, it's going to have an effect on your brain, and your brain's going to react. So I hope that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. And whilst you have reduced the medical information down to an understandable level, I think it is a very great way how you explained it. It is exactly what it is. Inflammation. I mean, if you burn yourself and initially there will be the pain, etc. Well, within 24 hours, it's going to be all red around it, and it's going to be swollen and puffy and weird. And that's exactly what happens to the brain. That's what inflammation of the brain does. Inflammation means leakiness. And we do see that. You can, in some disease models or disease processes, we can actually directly observe it. If you take a dive injury, when a diver comes up too quickly due to an emergency, you get bubbles materializing within the bloodstream. What these bubbles do is they go through the bloodstream to the brain, and they strip the inside lining of the brain out, of the blood vessels in the brain out. So, and you can see that. You can actually literally do that with animal experiments and watch that happen. And then what happens in the next 24 hours, everything gets leaky up there. The white cells going out, having a huge party in the brain itself. And you get all these symptoms from the bends, from decompression illness. So we have got that model where we see what happens when your blood vessels get stripped of the lining, when you get leaky. There it is. That's what happens. And that's what happens in the acute setting. Now, we do that very nicely, thank you very much, on the quiet, on the sly, by eating crap. And unfortunately, I wrote about it in my book. You go into a supermarket, and probably 80% of what is in the supermarket should probably not be classified as food. Yeah, so it's weird.
Food-like substances.
Yeah, that's right.
Like substances. Yeah.
But what does that make it? Food-like substance, FLS. That doesn't ring so well. You need to come up with something better there. But you're right.
Yeah, but it's just not. I tell everybody, go only the perimeter of the grocery store.
Exactly.
I never go in the middle. I just don't go there. It was very interesting, though, here in Ecuador. Our produce section is right smack in the middle of the main store here, or at least where I live. It's right in the middle. So you have to go through all the other stuff to get there.
That's quite unusual. Normally it's always sort of on the outside, as you say. So guys, stay on the outside. In the middle, that's where the sharks play. Okay, so no.
Boy, do they ever. So now but then you, like you said about other things that can impact the brain. So we've got now, think of the person who's set themselves up totally for this. So bad diet, don't exercise, probably overweight because of the diet and lack of exercise, perhaps type 2 diabetes, also for the same reasons. But then they also have toxins, because in the crap food, it's not that it just has no nutrients or nothing that we can really use. It also has glyphosate and perhaps genetically modified organisms. And there are all these other things that are causing a toxin reaction in the body. And toxins can also come from bad teeth, if you don't look after your teeth. They can come from like makeup, women especially. And I wonder if that's part of the reason why women are twice as likely to get dementia as men. That's a kind of a scary statistic when you're a woman. But that also is anything that goes on our skin. You know that the skin is the biggest organ in the body. So anything that goes on it goes in. So that can affect our microbiome. It can cause inflammation, cause all kinds of problems. And the stuff we use when we're cleaning our homes. All of those things have a huge impact. And one of the things that I've been like fanatical about since this whole COVID thing started, here, they're spraying everybody with everything. They're trying to kill these bugs, and they're just willy-nilly spraying everything. They spray the cars here. When you go from canton to canton, they're spraying the cars. I mean, like, give me a break. Somebody's uncle's got to deal with something. But anyway, all of these chemicals, all of these things have a huge impact on us. And all of those things connected with a bad diet and lack of sleep. Sleep is another big issue. You're just setting yourself up. You don't have a hope unless you start reversing them. And I always say to people, because I have a lot of younger friends, and they say, well, I'm too young. I don't have to worry about that now. Oh, wait a minute. You can never start too early. You can start too late, but you can never start too early.
When is sort of the typical onset of problems? Have you found that the onset is shifting towards younger age?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I think there's a bunch of reasons for that. I think the EMF and the blue screens and too much lack of true social interaction, because that's a huge component of a healthy brain. It's, I love talking to you like this, but I talk to real people too. I talk to people in my face, and I think that the lack of true social connection, and a lot of people don't have the ability, younger people don't have the ability to really hold conversations because they haven't had the chance. They're not practicing doing it. And that's an important part of the human condition. We need to do that. But the statistics are showing that, and really the onset of mild cognitive decline, which is the precursor in many cases to dementia, can start as early as 50, can start as early as 45. But we're finding, and I belong to this social media platform called Quora, and because I'm there as a dementia prevention specialist, I'm getting kids 30, 25, 18 writing to me asking, what's going on? I can't remember. And I'm like, okay, we need to talk. What are you eating? How are you sleeping? Are you turning your screens off before, like 3 hours before you go to bed? Because I truly believe that they have a chance to fix this, but they got to start now. They have to start now. And anybody who says I'm too young, I argue with them, because it's not true. You are never too young to look after your brain, and you're never too young to start showing the symptoms, the precursors. So we have to, and it's kind of scary that it is showing up earlier and earlier.
Isn't it? And I mean, the equivalent would be here in New Zealand, where we are completely sports driven, is the amount of concussions that we see here in young people, the sports injuries that are taken just as, man, you just take it on the head. You were 3 minutes unconscious, that's part of growing up. Now have a beer. And you just think, oh my God. And surprise, surprise, surprise. When they're a little bit older, no, don't get me going there. But it is slowly getting more out there that repeated concussions are not good for you, and that you should actually do something about it. But that is only in the last 5 years. maybe
Yeah,
years if
truly.
you're pushing it.
Yeah.
So this is, however, that is one little breakthrough that we are seeing here. But the link with the nutrition, the link with all the other things, I think that is far from known. That is known amongst people like us who are interested in that. But then to know the link and to do something about it. I was doing post-production on videos last night, and I would have been on my screen up until 10:30 or so. So yeah, so much for that.
Yeah.
It takes practice, and
Yes.
it takes mindfulness to
Yeah.
actually remind yourself what
Yes.
you need to do and
Yeah.
why you need to do it, why
So
it
good
is.
question. Every time you make a decision, and I do this consciously every time, I'm trying to convince my husband to do it. He thinks he's nothing can ever happen to him. But I everything I do, I ask myself before I do it, is this good for my brain? Because I do not want to end up where my mama did. I do not want to end up dying without knowing even who my children are. I don't want to die like that. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be in a nursing home and be staring at the wall. I do not want to die like that. I do not want to spend my days like that. So I ask myself every time I make a decision, is this good for my brain? Now, sometimes absolutely I make bad decisions. I'm like, the heck with it. I'm going to go and I'm going to go and try this food, that is probably fried in something I really don't. I'm vegan. So that's pretty easy. I don't have any of the dairy or anything. But sometimes some of the stuff here is just fried in stuff I probably don't even really want to know what it's fried in. But sometimes I just go ahead and do it. But I'm very conscious of that. And then the next day I'll just drink a lot more water and I'll eat a lot more veggies or have another smoothie. So but you have to just think about it every time. And Dr. Daniel Amen, you may be familiar with him. He's a very passionate brain health specialist, and he does scans. He's done something like 50,000 brain scans to monitor people's brain health. And he was the one who gave me that thing to ask that question. And he's absolutely anti-alcohol. He said it's the worst thing you can do for your brain. And he's the one that convinced me, because I've never really had that much to drink. But now I'll have a glass of wine a couple of times a week. That's the most I ever do, thanks to him, because it's been so clear from the brain scans he's done on all these clients and patients that is not a good thing.
I've got a whole chapter in My Steps to Sobriety where I look at the impact of alcohol on various organ systems. And the brain obviously has got, I think, 2 or 3 chapters, even from the acute intoxication to the long-term problems. And once upon a time, it was a very, very, very common thing. They called it the wet brain. And the wet brain is a mixture of destroying the brain with the toxin alcohol and the impact of malnutrition that goes along with the abuse of alcohol, drinking too much. It's typically the thiamine, so the vitamin B group that is mainly affected, but so many other things in our diet are an issue. And I mean, let's face it. Once you've had 2 bottles of your best red wine, you don't give a tootle what you eat. Okay, bring it on. Deep fried Mars bar, just 2 of them, straight in, and come on. So it is what it is. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And therefore, your nutrition is shit when you're drinking, and you're destroying your brain literally every single night, day, every single drink you take.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. People don't want to know when they're drinking. So we need to get the message out. The problem is right now here, you and me, we are preaching to the choir, aren't we? So it is hard to get the knowledge out there to people.
So I one of the ways I'm doing that is I'm putting myself out there, and I get attacked a lot by people saying, dairy is good for you. Dairy, the FDA says this is that. And I really get like hammered. But I put myself out there to people who don't want to hear it, and I'm very nice, and I'll say things like, I'm trying to cut this out. I'll be on this one group for older women, for women over 60. And they keep going on about, losing weight and going this high protein and stuff. And I just put a little thing in there about, I found that I lost 42 pounds when I cut out the cheese and stuff. And then people will go, well, why? Blah, blah, blah. So preaching to the choir, yeah. But if you get yourself out there just a little bit, and I take lots of hits, but that's okay, because I know what I'm talking about, and I'm very passionate about it, and I don't want to die like my mom, and I don't want anybody else to die like my mom did. So I'll take those hits. You can knock me. It's okay. I've got thick skin. I'm a writer. You got to have thick skin to be a writer, yeah? So
Unfortunately.
But yeah, you have to. But that's okay. And everybody who's listening to this, even if you just say one little thing to somebody who might not really be ready for it just yet, but maybe someday in 4 weeks, they might think, oh, he said that, or she said that. Maybe I can, maybe there was something to that. It might come up in another conversation. So, you can take the hits now, but maybe you help somebody in the future. And that's all I'm hoping for.
I work on the same level, because those people who really ought to listen to this podcast probably are not. And that's the problem with alcohol. 95% of people who do drink far too much and in a very dangerous way believe that they're doing absolutely nothing wrong. And that's the hallmark of alcoholism. Of
any addiction.
Exactly. Oh, true. Very true. We don't want to know. We surround ourselves with other people who drink a lot. Therefore, it doesn't become obvious that you're drinking a lot. So we are manipulating our environment. We get manipulated by the liquor industry big time. And it's nuts. But what people don't realize is there's equally a very strong lobby group for the farmers out there who make their living with their milk, with their cheese, with their things. So no surprise that you're getting attacked when you suddenly say, oi, we don't want that. We in New Zealand, we are very strong in our dairy industry. And I think that is part and parcel why we have got cardiovascular disease and all these problems here. We are actually very high up as far as these medical problems are concerned. And that is for certain food-related, diet-related. There are some moves here to have different genetic breeds. So there's A1 milk, A2 milk. A2 milk being only a few herds here in New Zealand, but it's far, far less inflammatory than A1 milk. So there is slowly getting a realization out there that food is significantly contributing to the problems we have. Having said that, again, this is something I see and a few educated people see, and we are the guys who are buying the A2 milk. That is 1%, 2%, 3% of the population, if we're lucky. So now the message needs to go out there. There's no doubt, and we too, and all of us healers, warriors, we can't give up, because if we just keep it all to ourselves, then nothing will happen, and it will be.
That's so true. It just perpetuates, and then you feel guilty. So I'm going to share this. I did a television program. I told you that in our pre-conversation. I did this television program, and it was about alternative health, and it was all kinds of information that was not very popular amongst people. And boy, talk about getting hit. And we were on network television. So it was 24 million households throughout Canada and the US and Europe. So we had quite a big viewership. But when you would talk about certain things, it was like really scary how people would attack. But my husband at the time and I, we kept saying, but we know, we took that pill. We took that pill and we have to share it. We can't keep it secret anymore. And it was like an obsession. And I've never lost that. I keep with I got to share it, because if I don't, I will feel guilty and I will not be a happy, fulfilled person. So like you're here, you're doing this look at you working so early and working so late and spreading this information, but you get a bug in your craw. My mama used to say you get a bug in your bonnet, and you just have to keep going.
So true, so true. And it is amazing. Whilst I know exactly what I have to do, there are times when I don't do it. So looking at yesterday, just reflecting quietly, did I drink enough? Hell no. What did I eat? Oh, well, let's not talk about that. And okay, so yeah. I'm really, really, really trying to walk the walk. Yet there will be times when you don't. And that's where a podcast like that is so important. And right now I'm incredibly humbled because talking to you, it just put the mirror in front of my face and think, yeah, really? Did you just do that yesterday? Oh, come on. Pull your socks up. And it's something we need to do, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know what? And it's so good when people can communicate this way, when we have these podcasts and programs and videos on YouTube, and people can see what others are doing, because we are humans. We need feedback. We need support. We are not living or working in a vacuum. We're just built this way. We need each other and we need support. And it's really nice to think that we can be the solo warrior, but bottom line, we can't.
No. There's only so much hammering you can take. And there is no doubt there will be some nasty bullying happen in my near future. Some things will not be nice. When someone takes exception, he misunderstands one thing and just goes full broadside. And it will be hard. So therefore, just to have this preemptive talk to you that I might then think back on and say, okay, she got hammered. Welcome to the club. It's maybe a badge of honor that you have got the scars between your shoulder blades.
It got so silly when I was on television. If I wore the same suit jackets 2 shows in a row, people would complain about it. Like, it got so silly because, like, I would look at the emails and go, are you kidding me? We just revealed this and you're complaining about the same blue jacket? Excellent. I don't understand.
Excellent. But that seems to be really where Joe Public focuses on. And that is the bizarre world. Just for the record, this is my lucky sweatshirt, okay? You see that in probably half of my shows. Be lucky, guys, that you see my lucky shirt, because my luck comes to you, okay? So if one of you complains, go jump, okay? So here you go. Now it is, you have to do what makes you happy, but often enough, of course, it's the big pizza that makes you happy, the instant gratification, the salt, the sugar, everything combined that gives you the high, because that's essentially what you're getting. You're getting high on your food. And that is the hard thing. So you can't just say, no, throw all that out. No more pizza for you, because you need to really replace it with another high, but with a high that's hopefully a little bit healthier for you. And I mean, some people do get the runner's high. So that is a bit known out there. So that's the extreme version of getting a positive benefit from exercise. So here you are. That is the positive version of getting the benefit from exercise. So the endorphins that the body throws out in response to endurance races. But you don't need to go 25 miles in order to get that benefit. It is actually little exercise, half an hour, walking the dog 20 minutes a day, that will add up, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the good thing about it is after you do it, like a lot of people don't do anything. No, I mean, nothing. They don't exercise at all. So if you can start by going 5 minutes or 10 minutes just for a walk, it's a cumulative thing, and just kick yourself in the butt and go out there every day and do that. And pretty soon it turns out that, gee, I missed that today. I got to go. I really enjoy that, and for me, I swim every day. I do calisthenics in the water because we have a retreat center here. So we have this beautiful pool, and I feel guilty when I don't use it. But I got to tell you, it's a little bit chilly here right now. So I have to really work on myself to jump in that pool. But if I don't do it, Stefan, I'm not happy. I don't feel good that night. So I just, scream a little bit when I jump in, and I move really fast for a couple of minutes, and then I'm fine. Then my body adjusts, and it's not like it's really cold, but it feels cold to me. So anyway, but that's the same. And it's the same with food. Because in my program, when I lead people through the program, what we start is just wherever you're at, whatever it is you do, we're going to take a little bit of the bad stuff away this week. But I have these great recipes for yummy cacao almond flour cake that will take away your wanting for sugar. You're not going to want that crappy sugar when you try this recipe that I'm giving you. That almond chocolate cake is to die for. And it has virtually no added nothing. Like, it's got bananas and stuff in it. So I give people something to replace it that is much healthier and tastes better. And then they start craving that. Well, that's good, because you can eat that all day long, because cacao is full of polyphenols, and that's good for you. So let's go that direction. And then pretty soon you do start craving those good things. It's, people don't believe me, but when they get to that point, they're like, holy crap, I want broccoli. I want broccoli. I need broccoli. I got a hankering for broccoli. But it can happen. Like, I have absolutely no desire for a grilled cheese sandwich. My husband makes them all the time. I can't get him to go vegan. He makes them, and he just loves them. And I used to like them many years ago, but I just have no desire to have it now. I would much rather have a bowl of brown rice and all my veggies. But it's a thing you can train yourself, just like you train yourself to eat bad or to not exercise. You can train yourself to do the opposite.
Oh, so true, so true. I went on such a journey, and my wife and I chose to go full out. We really had some allergy testing. We could find exactly what our body actually didn't like, and essentially it's a good German breakfast. You have lovely bread, lovely butter, cheese, eggs. The sausage is the only thing that I can still have according to that, but it is everything else that is on the table is actually very bad for me. So against my will, we actually said, okay, let's do it. So here I was, steak and salad for breakfast, and then other things, just a plant-based diet essentially. And we did it for a few months. And one day I said, I will stuff it. We've treated our guts so well. Let's have a cheesecake. And that cheesecake was absolutely disgusting. And because it was disgusting, it's so full of sugar, and it was amazing how my body had changed and realized what it really needed. And then when something else came along that it didn't really need, on the flip side, I have, over the last half a year, it was quite stressful. So I've let my diet slip a bit, and I went back to bad old habits. And my body says, yeah, that's absolutely fine. That cheesecake tastes really nice. That salt, that sugar, oh, bring it on. And so you need to work on it. This is a perishable skill of your body. You need to create the micro habits, which then become the habits, which then become your destiny. But if you don't work on that, your body and the little gremlins in there that give you those,
one on each shoulder.
Oh yeah, please. And both of them are in stereo. Great.
Yeah.
Eat that cheesecake. And it's,
yeah.
you need to, you guys, you need to deal with these gremlins. Okay.
Yeah, everybody does for whatever. Yeah. Because mine, I'm mostly over them now, but I used to really like chips, potato chips.
Yeah.
I guess do you call them crisps in New Zealand?
No, chips.
And I absolutely love French fries. They are my downfall. And last night when we went out for dinner, because we're trying to help some of the local restaurants, by going out once in a while. It's not that I can eat a lot there, but my husband ordered the fried shrimp and French fries, and I just had to have one. I just had to have a French fry because I haven't had one. I can't remember the last time I had a French fry. And it's a good thing that they were close to the shrimp. Otherwise, I would have had more, but they were right beside the shrimp, so I didn't. But oh my goodness. That is my thing. Potato chips and French fries. That's my thing. But now I've learned how to make like an equivalent, kind of, sort of, with kale. So I love my kale chips, sea salt, and I rub the olive oil in, and then I bake them, and then they're pretty good. It's still not potato chips. I admit it. It's still not the same. It doesn't quite do the same thing, but and now I can eat just one French fry. There was a time when I couldn't eat just one French fry. Now I can.
And again, let me come full circle, because we discussed initially the food or food-like substances that you can buy out there. If you think a French fry, what can be so wrong about that? Well, to a certain degree, if you make them yourself, not necessarily, because you're cutting up potatoes and you learn tricks how you turn that potato into a French fry, and you don't even need to fry them. You can double bake them and things like that. So this can be very healthy. Now, there are certain places out there which are often highlighted with funny arches or the equivalent places. If you were to go to those places and you go for a French fry, they taste absolutely yummy. Now, the reason that they are tasting yummy is that they have actually some potatoes in there, but they've also got 17 other substances in that potato, in that chips that you're eating there. And you think, what the hell? What am I eating here? And I think that is the reality. We are hammering our body with so many socially engineered toxins. It's no longer funny. And that I think, let's be clear about that. French fry is not French fry. If you go to a restaurant, they know what they're doing. You're probably okay. But if they are just buying it in, already all prepared, frozen with preservative on it, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, all of those things. And you know that these big food companies have teams of scientists who are there just to create products, chemicals, and interactions that make you crave those foods. This isn't just by mistake. This isn't just by accident that you get addicted to these things. This is done purposely. So you keep that in mind when you're choosing. And again, there's that thing. Choose, is this good for my brain or not? Because one of those French fries will not pass my lips. Not that kind, Yeah. The little guy in the corner that I know, where he cuts up the potatoes and he fries them. I don't want to think about the oil so much because it probably would make me upset. It's not going to kill me a couple of times. And I think that's important for anybody going through any process. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. I'm going to do better next time. I'm not going to beat myself up about this. To be mindfully accepting and to not judge yourself. Just say, okay, I did this time. I just won't do it next time.
Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly right. Oh, dear. You were alluding to the program that you're doing, that you're offering. Can you tell me and the viewers a bit more if they feel a connection with you and they actually would like to continue working with you and get in touch with you? How can they go about it?
Oh, sure. Through my website, there's a page there called 60 Days to a Better Brain. And basically, it's an 8-week group program. I'm just starting a new one in August. And this is a beta version because I've only worked with private people, but so many people are interested now, thank goodness, because that means brains are getting better, yeah? So we get together once a week. We talk, we share stories. I give you all the materials that I have in the book over the course of the 8 weeks. We support each other. We share recipes. I have you can't believe the recipes I have that are so yummy and so easy and so inexpensive. Because when you eat a whole foods plant-based diet, the food is a lot less expensive because you're not buying cheese, you're not buying meat, you're not buying all those expensive things. You can have amazing food for little money. We just eat so well here, and I love cooking. So anyway, that's what we're doing together, and we're going to spend 8 weeks together, and we're just going to have fun. We're going to support each other. We're going to pat each other on the back. We're going to just make it so that this lifestyle is fun and delicious and easy. And every week we're going to, because my book and everything I teach is body, mind, and spirit. So we have the body. We're looking after the physical part. We've got the mind. We're learning either maybe to play a musical instrument or something new that your brain would never have dealt with before. We're going to learn new things. And then spirit, we talk about mindfulness, about compassion, and about, volunteerism, that sort of thing. All those things that make us humans, all of those things are in the package. And we're just going to have fun doing that together for 8 weeks. And by then, it takes that long, for a habit to start becoming a lifestyle. So we're going to take that long together with support.
And that's the cool thing. Once you are actually immersing yourself into a group where others are carrying you, where others are there for you, and where they say, yes, I had the same cravings last night, but listen, I did X. And that's beautiful. You are not alone. You're not alone out there. And that's the key message there that I want to send out to all my viewers and listeners. You are not alone in your frustration, in your sometimes dark thoughts, in your shame and guilt that you add that chip, and that you add actually not one chip, but the extra large version of it. Okay. So that's what we do. That makes you human.
Yes.
Just accept it for what it is. But that was yesterday. Okay. That was yesterday. That's old news. Forget about it. Maybe not forget about it. Park it. Say, okay. Move on, accept what it was. Don't forget what you've done, because sometimes it's good to have reminders, but actually move on and say, okay, what can I do? And let's be clear about it. I've tried the kale chips. You can chase me down the road with kale chips. I hate them. They are disgusting. I tried different ways of making them myself. I hate them. So you don't need to love absolutely everything in a new lifestyle. But it is a new lifestyle that has so many promises. It is a lifestyle that could very much revolutionize the way you think, the way you feel, the way you interact with others. You are practicing good habits. And that in its own right sounds boring or doesn't sound sexy. No, it's super sexy, because you're actually going out there and you're developing the new you. Yeah. And the new you is then the catalyst for the even newer you that comes thereafter. So sometimes...
And think of the people... Oh, yes, sorry.
No, please.
And think of the people that you're inspiring. So for every person that we work with or that's in our group, they might have kids or grandkids or something, and they're seeing, wow, look how awesome grandma looks. She's got all this energy. Look how awesome that is. Maybe I should try that. Because there's so many things when you show how great you feel, or if you've got more, you can be more fun because you've got more energy, or you've got all these new things going on in your head and you're sharing them because it's exciting, then you're inspiring other people to do that too. And then you're doing the work, then you're the ambassador.
Oh, please. And it is beautiful. The ambassador, the catalyst, the change. And at one stage in our life, we want to leave a destiny. We want to be remembered for the beautiful things we have done. And it's unfortunately around about that time that also the risk of dementia increases. So here you go, two birds with one stone. By you changing your life, you are doing both. How great is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kate, we're going to put a link to your website down there in the description of the YouTube and of the podcast so that people can easily get access to you. And I so hope that lots of people listen and that we plant the seed that hopefully grows. And sometimes it takes a while to grow. There is no doubt. I loved the way you said that little bit of information might not get lost, but might just be parked, and it might not be right now for people. But then something happens, and that little bit of seed suddenly starts growing, and that's a beautiful thing. So we both let's not give up here. Let's overcome the bullying, the obstacles, the crap that people come up with as excuses why you and I are weird and are okay. So you're quite right. I mean, it's these shoulders are getting rather slippery from things just falling off. So it needs to be.
Yeah, it does.
Kate, this was an absolute fantastic interview. Thank you so much for sharing your passion, for showing us the reality of using neuroplasticity in preventing your brain going down the wrong track, to reverse to a degree some of the damage that we have done through a number of ways in our life. And even if there is damage that we can't reverse, we can teach an old brain new tricks with
Yes.
That's right. So work with that old brain. You might be surprised what comes out on the other end. Okay.
That's right. Thank you for a wonderful interview. This was a lot of fun, and I hope your viewers and listeners get a lot out of it.
Oh, no doubt. Kate, thank you very much. My heart goes out to you, to Ecuador. Keep fighting that war. Keep fighting that beautiful passion. Bring it out there. And you viewers, listeners out there, my heart goes out to you too, because I know that you guys can create a new you can create a new life, and every day offers new opportunities. It's just a matter of you taking the choice and taking life to the fullest, loving it to the fullest, and living it to the fullest. Look after yourself out there, guys. Bye.
Bye.